What if the Easter Bunny wasn't bringing chocolates, but something far worse? In my village, we didn't celebrate Easter. We feared it. And today, I finally learned why. We never celebrated Easter in my home village. When other parents hid Easter eggs for their kids, mine would lock our doors and make me stay inside for the duration of the holiday. I never understood why. When school started again after the Easter holidays, all the other kids talked about their Easter presents and their hunt for Easter eggs. All I could do was listen in abject jealousy. The motive wasn't religious as far as I knew. Our small community was a Christian one, always had been. Still, Easter was banned. As a kid, it felt strange to be stuck indoors during Easter. Worst of all, everyone pretended the holiday didn't exist. When I asked my parents about it, I was met with solemn silence. They told me that's just how things were supposed to be, and how they always had been. I remember rushing to my grandma when I was 5 years old, just before Easter. I was crying, asking her why we could never celebrate it, and telling her how unfair I thought it was. She gave me a stern look and told me we couldn't. There were things out there, she said, things that only came out once a year. They played tricks on people and hide away bad little boys in Easter eggs. I stopped crying and even laughed a little. It was obvious even to a 5-year-old that she was joking, trying to get me to behave. Yet her face showed not an ounce of humor. This strange tradition became a big topic between me and the handful of other kids in our village. We were sure our parents just didn't want to get us any Easter presents. It was nothing but a conspiracy by the adults. Looking back, I can only laugh at how silly we all were. I guess we were just trying to make sense of things. I tried to sneak out, of course, but only once. The front door was locked, but I discovered that a window in the living room wasn't. To this day, I remember my father's face when he found me on the windowsill, prepared to jump outside to uncover the mystery that haunted my childhood. I got in serious trouble that year, and when I say serious, I mean it. There was one other boy, though, who made it out during Easter, my friend Johannes. He was the eldest of his single mother's 5 children, and the craftiest 12-year-old I knew. Each year he told me he'd make it outside and figure out what was going on. The year he did, 1992, he vanished without a trace. All they found of him was a single shoe lying near the bushes at his home. Even worse, no one made any effort to find him. Sure, everyone talked about it, calling it a tragedy, but no police were involved and no search was started. For all I knew, they simply abandoned him. As I grew older, I accepted that this was just how things were. I didn't care much about Easter anyway, and even less about leaving the house. I was happy enough to sit in my room and play video games all day. Once I was an adult, I simply went along with everyone else. I went about my life and accepted that for 2 days, the outside world didn't exist. At 26, I left my home village behind and moved to a nearby town. It was there that I met Kathleen. We started dating, got married a year into our relationship, and before long, our son Eric was born. We lived in the same town for a couple of years, but neither of us enjoyed life there all that much. It was too loud, too crowded, and too dirty. By the time my 30th birthday came along, we decided we'd had enough. When I suggested moving back to my tiny home village, Kathleen was all for it. During the few times we'd visited, she said she'd grown to love the place. I'd never told her about our Easter tradition, if you could call it that. When I finally did that February, she laughed, thinking it was just a silly joke. After a while, though, she realized I was serious. "All right, but why?" she asked, rolling her eyes. I wanted to tell her, but I didn't know what to say. No one had ever told me the real reason. I reiterated my grandma's story, which only made her laugh more. When I told her about my friend Johannes, though, her laughter faded. Did they ever find out what happened to him? I shook my head. No, nothing. He was simply gone. That's terrible. Why did no one search for him? I shrugged. God, if I know, I said quietly. With that, I thought the issue was settled. The problem was our son, Eric. He was 4 now, and his favorite time of year was spring. In the town we'd lived in, there wasn't much to it. But out here, the meadows were covered in early bloomers, and you could almost taste the fresh air of spring. Even worse, his favorite animals were bunnies. So of course, Easter was his favorite holiday. I trusted Kathleen to believe me. I trusted her to heed my warning. That was the biggest mistake of my life. The moment I woke up this morning, I knew something was wrong. It wasn't unusual for Kathleen to be up already, but today, the house was too quiet. Normally, I'd hear Eric playing and Kathleen making breakfast, but today, I was greeted by silence. I jumped out of bed and rushed through the house. Living room, kitchen, nothing. No, she couldn't have. I ran to the front door. Their shoes were gone. I screamed at myself for not locking the door. How could I be so stupid? What was normal to me must have sounded like nothing but superstition to her. Yet, what exactly was I afraid of? I told myself this was all just folklore, dumb superstition. They were probably in the garden, laughing, Eric happily hunting for Easter eggs. There's nothing to be afraid of, I whispered, over and over, as I pulled on my jacket and stepped outside. Kathleen, Eric, where are you? I called out, but there was no answer. I ran around the side of the house to our garden. That's when I saw it. It was a giant thing. At first, I thought it was someone in a costume, but it was too big, too wrong. Covered in filthy, matted grey fur, it crouched low, hunched over, rummaging through a leather pack on its back. Then with slow, deliberate movement, it pulled out something large and round and returned to its task. "What the fuck?" I whispered. The creature turned. Its face was a grotesque, bloated parody of a rabbit's. It sniffed the air, whiskers twitching, then fixed its deep red eyes on me. It opened its mouth, revealing long, yellowed front teeth the length of my forearms. A high-pitched squeak echoed from its throat. I was frozen in place, unable to process what I was seeing. Then came another squeak, this one horribly human, almost like a giggle. The creature stared at me for a moment longer, then dropped what it was holding and darted off. "Kathleen, Eric," I called again, my voice trembling. I stumbled into the garden and saw what it had dropped, an old wooden Easter egg lying in the grass. I gave a shaky laugh until I saw the blood. Hands trembling, I picked up the egg. After some work, the lid popped open. Inside were my wife's head and hands. "Eric, oh my God, Eric, where are you?" I wailed, stumbling forward. That's when I saw them. More of those wooden Easter eggs. Some were out in the open. Others were hidden in bushes or under the grass. All were smeared with blood. It's the afternoon now. I still haven't found all of them. Parts of my family are still missing. I don't know what that creature was. But now at least, I know why we were never allowed to leave our homes during Easter.